Good morning. My name is Dr. Heredia. I am faculty at the Kendall campus for the English department. And I have been with the Humanities Edge Grant since the inception. I'm really happy to be here today and talk about one of our best programs that we've had since the beginning of the program, which is internships. Internships are so valuable because they really connect our students to careers. They connect our students to faculty. They connect our students to other students. And it's really what students need in today's world, that essence of connection. And the way we have really taken on internships and the way we have kind of stream this out for different faculty across different campuses to have the opportunity to do has really been an amazing component of the grant. And we hope that it continues to be part of the grant in this way. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about internships. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about different internships as far as community partnerships. We're going to talk about internships that you can do in your own campus with your own students, in your own department, in your own campus, right? There's so many projects going on day to day, month to month, whether it's arts and leathers, whether it's Hispanic heritage, whether it's Earth Day, whether it's anything. There's just so many things happening. And we don't realize that if we bring students into the conversations, if we bring students to the table, they can really benefit and gain an abundant amount of experience. And this experience is experience that will help them in the future. It'll help get them ready for their future careers. It'll help get them ready for those future presentations. It'll help get them ready when they're in a boardroom hosting a meeting and they're trying to, convince their stakeholders to run with their program. It'll help them with that. So these internships do a good job of specifically targeting students who are in the humanities, but it really could be for any students in any discipline, in any program, to really kind of come to the table and benefit from these experiences. So we're going to go ahead and begin. All right, so to break this down, I thought that it would be nice to look at this from a holistic perspective, right? There's sometimes we are hesitant to get a program up and running because we're like the logistics, right? The paperwork, the process, the documents and all this stuff. So what I thought would be beneficial for all of us here is to be able to use this as a resource. So if you're thinking of probably potentially proposing some sort of internship in the future, you already have this bank of resources that you can use and you can apply to your own internship. So that's really the gist of this slide here. So there's a document that's going to give you just different guidelines for supervisors, different guidelines for internships. What are the overarching goals of the program? There's also an actual application that's just going to get information from the students that you're working with, right? So, name, date, schedule, availability, which is so important. We know that sometimes when interns are applying, sometimes they may have a lot of other responsibilities and they may not have the time or realistically be able to give the time needed for these programs. So this form right here does a really good job of giving us a snapshot of what the student's life is day to day. What's their availability, what day, what time, when are they on campus, when are their classes, and then also as a supervisor, you want to make sure that your availability and the student's availability match so that it is a good match and that you guys can work together, right? If it's a day that you're not on campus, but this is the only day that the intern is available, then that's probably not a match. You want to find something that works with you well and kind of like will help the program in general. The next form is a code of conduct sheet, and these are just general rules. I see this as like a code of professionalism. And it's good to always have these conversations with students to make sure that, they may have never worked in a professional setting. They maybe have never even had a job, depending where the student is, right? So just talking about different ways as far as dressing professional, different ways to interact with students, with faculty, right? Just making sure that they're able to put their best foot forward is important. So this is just the same way we have a code of conduct for a workplace, we would have it for the internship, so that they know this is, this is different. This is a business. This is something where, we expect certain things and we have certain expectations, and you're very clear and very transparent from the beginning. Letter of acceptance. So this will be just a document that the student is signing, that they're letting you know that they are on board, that they are going to, devote the time needed to be part of this internship, right? And the next document is the intern evaluation of the internship experience. So these are kind of like forms that come at the end, right? And we do this because we are collecting data, qualitative data. We want to make sure that we're getting all the insight and all the experience from the interns. So this is like a summative form where the students kind of are given a few questions, and we'll provide these questions to you as part of this presentation, just so that you can get a good idea, because sometimes there's things that the interns maybe didn't tell you, or you didn't really understand, or maybe it didn't work well. And this is just a nice clean slate, for the students to be 100% transparent, as well as the supervisors. Okay, so the supervisors also have an evaluation of the intern, right? So that we could also talk about what went well, what were some of the strengths, what were some of the weaknesses, right? And we put this all together, to be able to analyze it at the end of the day. We also have an internship weekly update form, and this is usually done bi-weekly. And this form is really great because it allows for the intern to be, I would say, held accountable and to be very organized in this experience. So they have to document every single thing that they're doing day to day. If they're working on a project, what are some of the tasks that they did? If they're working with students, what are some of the things that they did with the students? If they're working with faculty, what are some of the things? These are things that they're documenting, things that happen on campus, things that happen off campus, right? And this also allows us to look at productivity, look at how things are flowing, look at how things are working. And this is also a great piece. So this is just a great resource of documents, of way to document different components of the program that are very helpful in just the workflow of the entire process. So as we talk about internships, we talk about different types of internships. We have campus-based internships, and we have community partner internships. The campus-based internships are internships that take place at the different campuses. So here are a few. We had a humanities assistant and digital technician at MDC Wilson campus. We had the Humanities Edge art management intern at the Wilson campus. We had the arts education intern at MDC West campus. We had Earth Day programming assistant intern at MDC West campus. We had a humanities intern at MDC North campus, and we had research assistants at MDC Kendall campus. And these are different campuses where different students are being supervised by different faculty members. Some faculty members have been part of the Humanities Edge. Most are faculty leads or just faculty in different departments of humanities, who have taken on a role and taken on some leadership and supervising interns in their respective worlds. So it's amazing. We're gonna get a few minutes after this to look at some of these presentations in depth, so that you could possibly see and maybe brainstorm some ideas, maybe some possible interns that you could probably have in your class. Also, one of our main highlights is connecting our students with the community. So, I mean, everyday students, humanities majors, especially, sometimes it's hard for them, and there's a bit of a disconnect between the connection, as far as, what is a possible career for me, right? What am I going to be able to do with a humanities major? Sometimes there's a big disconnect at home as well. Sometimes parents don't understand too that there's lots of really, really good careers in the humanities. But there's just that lack of awareness. So we've done a really, I would say, a good job at connecting with different community partners and creating partnerships and developing these areas where our students can work outside in these communities and develop the skills that they need that they will get in campus as well as out of campus. So some of the partnerships that we have worked with are the archivist training intern for Dade Heritage Trust, library intern at the Wilsonian campus at FIU, museum management education intern for the Perez Art Museum, Miami, Perez marketing internship for Fantasy Theater Factory, technical production internship for Fantasy Theater Factory, and museum and archives intern for Historic Homestead Town Hall Museum. So we'll also delve into some of these and take a look at some of the jobs that students did. So when we talk about campus-based internships, right? Faculty supervised internships. These are some of the internships that we have developed at different campuses. These two are from Kendall campus. These are two colleagues who I respect dearly and have been pivotal, staunch supporters of the Humanities Edge. Dr. Laura Cahill, who teaches composition courses, creative writing courses, was able to develop a internship program where she had a student who focused on digital pedagogy. And this student worked with her on creating mini lessons that really put technology to the forefront, instructional videos, best practices. She even embedded podcasting here. So, she had a really good relationship with the student. The student was an English major. And this was a great way for this student to really enhance and strengthen their skills, as well as continue to work with Dr. Laura Cahill. So this was a really great program that really showed a lot of good stuff. So we're very proud of that one. Another faculty member at Kendall campus was Professor JJ Colagrande. And Professor JJ Colagrande has a publishing company called the Jitney. And this is an example of how you have so many professors who are so involved in the community. And Professor JJ Colagrande is one of those. He's a staunch advocate for the arts. He's heading this publishing company, and why not create a space where he can mentor a student and have a student come into the published company and work with him on some of his projects. So a lot of this deals with South Florida culture, different events happening in Miami, focusing on different influencers, artists, politicians. It's very up and coming media in Miami. And why wouldn't you want to have a student come in and really get the practice here, right? Because when I look at these two programs and I think about the skills that the students are getting and the career connections that they're getting and the experience that they're getting, this is what internships are all about. They do take a little bit of work, right, on the faculty end, but when you think about the experience and the connection that the students are making, just looking at these two different projects, how different they are, the different skill sets that you're getting in each of them, I mean, it's amazing. So these are two of them. There's a few more that I want to discuss. We also had two faculty members, one from North and one from West Padron. We had Dr. Edgar Barsoni. Dr. Edgar Barsoni is from North Campus, and she had an intern basically assist her with a lot of her Humanities Edge projects. Being part of the Humanities Edge, I can tell you that there's so many things happening day to day. There's so many different projects. There's so many different things that we're overseeing that we want to bring to our students. And she was able to have a student work with her and work on arts and management, right? So basically what she did was she helped her put together a Excellence Across the Curriculum Symposium, which is a showcase that's happening at the North Campus, right? There was a lot of involved, lots of different disciplines, lots of faculty, lots of different students across the board. And this was an event that at the end of the day, they brought students together to showcase some of their research and some of their work. And the student was able to work with Dr. Barsoni and with other faculty to work with vendors, work with students, putting this program together. So that in itself is amazing experience to come out of a community college with, right? It's something that it really allows us to think outside of the box. So this was a great example as to the amount of skills, especially workforce skills, that students can get when they're working with faculty within their respective campuses. There's a picture here on the left. If you see here, there's a student who is at a table working with other students. So one of the projects that Dr. Barsoni does is she does a book club. and the intern is in charge of facilitating and overseeing the entire book club program and the conversations with the students. So you have a student here stepping into a leadership role, having conversations with their peers, coordinating conversations, setting up these meetings, deciding topics, deciding goals, deciding outcomes, right? Reflecting on that and just having these conversations with peers. I mean, that in itself is a skill that is great. Another professor from West Padron campus, Professor Tori Giddings, she had an intern who was a arts intern, and she worked with her on basically, I think this project specifically, I think was great to discuss because this was during the pandemic when everything kind of went off the grid. And she wanted to keep the conversation going. She wanted to keep the humanities continue to flourish. And this was a time period where these conversations were even more important than they are today, right? So students were really lacking that connection, they were lacking that interaction. So she had her students kind of put everything online. So her students conducted and facilitated virtual museums. She went online and she found things that were happening online in real time, whether it was art museums, art galleries that students can actually go to from their homes and still benefit from this experience and still learn and grow, even though they were locked in at that time. So I thought that was great. Another project that this intern had was this intern also created workspaces for students to work with the arts within campus. So once the campus opened up again, there was a lot of students who were dealing with a lot of things, and she wanted to create a safe space for students to immerse in art and express their feelings and have an opportunity to do all that. So if you look at this picture here, next to the virtual museum, there's a little poster that says share your story. This is simple. This could be done in any nook, in any library, in any student-centered space where you can have a student who's maybe in charge of creating these workspaces that you have magazine, you have coloring, you have puzzles, and come together. You would find that students who are on campus are going to come and they're going to gravitate to the space. And this is something that's done by one of our students. So that's another great project. Here are some of our community partnerships that we discussed before, just some of the different projects that we have. The book fair is a great space for students to be involved. The Miami Film Festival, the Wilsonian, the Art Museum, the Fantasy Theater. So, I would say just use this as a way to brainstorm. Like, let's think about all our disciplines and what are some ways and what are some partners that we can communicate with and that really could advocate for our students and create an experience for our students that would be extremely beneficial. Okay, so we're going to look at the internship from the as far as the description is from the internship that I myself supervised, and I collaborated with Professor Rita Fernandez Sterling. And this was an internship that we housed at the Kendall campus, and we worked with a student by the name of Gabby. And we wanted to make sure that we had a candidate who possessed a lot of skills, and a student who was very involved and already doing a lot of time and work on the campus. So we chose Gabby because we felt she would have been a good fit for this. She was already, like I said, she was already involved. So we thought, what a great way to compensate her and to reward her for her efforts and to really provide her with the space to enhance these skills, right? So the way that this internship was broken down, it was broken down into two components. We had the My Ambiance component, which is a literary magazine at Kendall campus, and Gabby was the editor-in-chief for the magazine. And then we also wanted to have her work with me, right, within my English composition courses, specifically my ENC 1101 course, right? We wanted to create a space for Gabby to come into the classroom and to work with students and to kind of like put herself in that mentor role, sort of teacher, put on that teaching hat, see if that was something that maybe she she would be drawn to, right? So that was really like the outcomes of this internship, right? To create that space where Gabby can continue working and work even more on the magazine, but also come into a classroom and explore teaching and explore curriculum and explore assessment as a whole. So this is Gabby. She was awesome, amazing. And this just shows like some of the work that she did. If you notice, like that's up her with me in my office on the right, one of the days where we're talking about curriculum and classroom instruction. And then this is her also being able to show off all her efforts for my ambiance. You know, you have Professor Fernandez Sterling, Professor Chirino, and you know, like I said, she was already all over the place, and she would leave campus one day, then she would work, she would have to take the bus to work, take the bus home, all these late hours. And we really wanted to provide her with that experience where she could do all of this at on campus, right? And she wouldn't have to worry about the other stuff. And we felt that she would be able to use this opportunity to enhance everything that she was already doing. And she certainly did. So this is just a slideshow that shows some of the achievements that Gabby earned. And you can see like just from the look on her face and the smile on her face, right? Just how comfortable she was. And I really say that a lot of this is attributed to the internship experience that we're going to talk about now. So, you know, part of her being in the classroom was her, you know, putting on that teacher hat, like I said. And I must say that at first, Gabby was very shy. She was one of these students who probably wasn't as extroverted, right? She didn't want to talk up in front of the class. She was very shy. She was kind of nervous about it. And this experience, you know, we broke it up into segments, and I'm going to show you how we really chopped this down to get her to the point where she was up in front of the class, talking comfortably. I mean, completely running the show. And this is not an education major. This is someone who didn't even see education as something in her wheelhouse, right? But when she saw the experience and how comfortable she was in the classroom, how much she enjoyed it, I think that it was game changing for her. So when we talk about this pathway to the professoriate, right? And this is just a fancy way of saying, you know, becoming that perfect professor, right? What does that process look like? You know, we pretty much broke this down into this trajectory of different steps. And in fact, and step one was just getting her comfortable in the environment. So I would say about the first week, 2 weeks was just her coming into the class, you know, just from an observation perspective. Um, so she would look at me, and she would look at me in the classroom, and she would look at me and how I engage with the students, right? And some of the components that we would focus on and that we would look at were classroom management. You know, not it's not really about me, but what about the students? Are the students on their phones? Are the students engaged? Are the students raising their hands? Are the students, you know, completely in the lesson, right? Teaching style, you know, just looking at the style of the teacher and what that was like. You know, was it effective? You know, and just honest, transparent conversations. What does the rapport with the students look like? How are the students engaging with the faculty? Student engagement in general, instructional delivery. You know, what did that lesson look like? How did the professor package the lesson, right? And those were kind of like the targeted points that we would talk about after. So she would come in and she would just observe and just kind of like be like a fly on the wall and just look at what was happening. And then from those conversations, we would always go back into my office, and then we would talk about them and we would discuss them. And we would talk about, well, were the students engaged in the lesson? Do you feel the students feel part of a learning community? Was the teaching style appropriate? Would there be a better way to connect with the students? And for me, I think that was one of my end goals, right? Because sometimes when we teach, we've been teaching for so long that, we may use the same lesson, we do the same thing sometimes. And sometimes we're not really connecting with students the way we should, because our students, as you know, um, I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but students change every semester. And every few years, they have different interests, they have different skills, and connecting with students has to change every semester, right? So I would use these conversations as a learning growth for myself to say, okay, let's say I'm teaching poetry or I'm teaching writing. Is there a contemporary author that maybe students are talking about that maybe I'm not really capitalizing on? So this was a great opportunity to get that information. So I just want to kind of share this because from these discussions and from these reflections, it was a two-way street. And it's important for you to create a space with students when you have these opportunities. And this is something that can just happen during your office hours, right? Just to show the students that this is a partnership. I'm not going to sit here and tell you do this X, Y, and Z. No, you're doing this wrong. No, this is how it is because I've always done it this way. No, this is really a space to have collaborative conversations with students that focus on the craft of instruction and of teaching. Okay. And I think that when that happens, that's really takes this program to another level. Okay. So from conversations and discussions, we would then kind of narrow it down and start looking at curriculum. Okay, so at this point, we take out the syllabus. We're in week 3. We're gonna take this all the way to week 16. This is what I'm teaching. These are the skills that are so important. These are the competencies that we need to make sure that we hit. These are the skills that maybe students are lacking. These are some of the skills that I know from my experience students have trouble with. And let's just focus on one unit at a time. Okay. And we would just have a conversation. And then during those conversations, during the goal setting, that's when we would kind of move into the guided lesson planning. And that's when it would be like, all hands on deck here. All right. Let's talk about how do we engage with the student from the moment we open up the lessons to the end, to when the students are leaving. How can we introduce this topic? Can we bring in a video? Can we use a Kahoot? Can we use a poem? Can we use, what can we do? Do you have something that maybe you've done that relates to this, that maybe we could apply it to this lesson, right? Coming from a student perspective. We talked about multimedia, questioning. We will, make sure all our materials, our texts, we would have our end goal, the assessment. What does that assessment look like? Make those real world connections with the students. What's going on now that we can connect in this lesson that we know are going to engage students from the beginning, right? So we have all this, we have our lesson put together, we talked about it. I allow her time and space to kind of like have a little mock teaching session in the office with me where she's showing me, okay, this is what I'm going to use. This is what I want to do. Right. And then once she's already comfortable and I feel like she has that confidence and experience that she's ready to go, we take her right into the classroom. And it could be something short. It could be the first lesson could be something like a little warm up, right? A quick thing, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, nothing that's going to take too long. And then we kind of build it up, right? And then by the time you know it, she's already comfortable and understanding the teaching and the craft, and she's already starting to feel inspired. And not only that, I allow her to take ownership of what she's teaching. So I give her ideas, like I said, I give her the competencies, I give her the skills, but I allow her to bring in her own twist. I allow her to bring in if there's an author that she enjoys, then let's use that author, because that's what's going to allow her to feel comfortable and it's going to motivate her to do a good job, right? And then after that, when we look at the whole picture, some of the conversations that we'll have, we'll come back to my office, comfortable. Could be over lunch, talking, what worked in the lesson. Are there any changes you could make to improve the lesson where the students engage? Let's look at the assessments. Let's discuss student progress. Let's look at specific students and see where they're at, right? And then let's brainstorm the next unit of study. And it's just a cycle overall. And this, like I said, it doesn't only benefit Gabby, it benefits me too, because from this experience with Gabby, there's tools and products and things that I take away from this that I'm using now with future students because I know that it's something that students connect with. So that is the pathway to the professoriate. Here you have a quick video that if you want to, get a little bit more of Gabby's perspective, this is was actually, excuse the quality, it was done during COVID. We had a conversation about the program and I asked her questions as, why did you apply for the program? What did you learn from the program? What are some takeaways from the program? What are some lessons learned from the program? What are some challenges from the program? Questions like that. So if you really want to kind of dig into that student perspective, we're going to also go ahead and add this to the documents that are going to accompany the presentation. It's a great way for you to, deep dive here as well. And another thing that, we always want to mention, everything that we do has students at the center. And, from the various campus community partnerships, we have been collecting qualitative data to really capture the student experience. And these are some quotes that come directly from our students. So the most beneficial part of the Humanities Edge was the opportunities for internships for our students. Trying to find any on my own was very difficult. So, just telling you right now, they need that guidance, they need that facilitation to be able to find it. So students are very grateful, and they're extremely grateful for the opportunity to connect and to engage with students. I like how I was encouraged to exercise creative freedom and how the internship opportunities are relevant to the skills I wanted to develop. So that goes back into that ownership for the students, being able to focus on topics and skills and things that they're passionate about and providing them a safe space to do so. I had a wonderful experience and walk away from this internship with a plethora of new information. So yeah, a lot of students didn't really know that these opportunities existed, and this program certainly did that. One of the most important skills I gained during this reporting period was how to send an email to a professor. Um, some things like that, as simple as sending an email, they may not have someone at home that is talking to them about this. Many of these students, as you know, are first generation students. Their parents don't speak English, so being able to provide them with these professional skills that we know they're going to need to possess day one, I mean, that in itself is a win. Okay. And this was a student who did the book club, and working with students and getting involved on campus life, and ultimately connecting with other students and connecting with faculty. And that's really the end goal of the internship program that we have here. So thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about our Humanities Edge internship program. It was a pleasure to share, all the hard work that has come into this program, from our students' efforts, from our faculty efforts, from our grant administrator efforts, from everyone. It really has taken a village. So thank you so much. And again, thank you for allowing us to showcase this. And we do hope that you come away with some ideas, maybe some inspiration, something that you can use, and ultimately just connect with your students. And if you have any questions, and if there's anything that I can help with in any way, please feel free to email me at d@mdc.edu, and I will definitely answer back. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great one.